Bună ziua și bine v-am găsit la o nouă ediție a ZF Esențial în Business. UiPath, startup-ul creat de români care se îndreaptă spre o evaluare de 10 miliarde de dolari și care ține titlurile publicațiilor de afaceri din toată lumea, demonstrează potențialul ecosistemului românesc de startup-uri din tehnologie. De ce este nevoie însă pentru ca din ce în ce mai multe startup-uri românești să înregistreze astfel de performanțe? Ne va răspunde René Schöb, partener KPMG și cel care conduce departamentul de Tax and Legal al KPMG în România. Hello, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So tell us, how is KPMG active in the local startup ecosystem? Why did you decide to help the Romanian startups, and how do you do that?
We started with the idea that actually a healthy economy, and especially a developing economy like Romania, needs a backbone out of small and mid-sized enterprises, because small and mid-sized enterprises are flexible, are agile, which is also needed in good times because they grow faster, but especially also in bad times when there might be a crisis, because they are also in contraction mode, much more agile and more innovative. And that's why we wanted to involve ourselves. And particularly, of course, nowadays with the technology factor, we are particularly interested in technology startups.
Mm-hmm. And how do you exactly plan to help them?
So, of course, it's not just, we are not a venture capital fund. We are also not somebody or an organization who does this only as for our living. For us, it was important to support the startup ecosystem with the know-how, knowledge, as well as business connections which we have. To mentor them with all the hundreds of specialists which we have in-house, because we believed we can for sure, with all our experience, which is not just local but also regional and international, help the local startups in the very beginning of their venture.
Mm-hmm. And when did you start this project, and what does it consist of?
So we started our so-called KPMG GrowPad Accelerator together with Ferik from Cluj almost 1 year ago, where we have scouted for B2B startups which would have been interested to join an accelerator together, which is organized by us. We have finally chosen 5 startups out of more than 100 applications which we had.
Wow, 100 applications.
Yes.
From all over Romania.
From all over Romania, but we also had applications from abroad, for instance, Ukraine or Moldavia and other Eastern European countries.
And what does exactly your program offers to them?
So what we offered at that time was clearly an organized accelerator, meaning we put for every startup which we wanted to accelerate, we made a core team with experts, with so-called mentors. Mm-hmm. We defined targets for them. Some wanted to accelerate mainly growth, others wanted to have first proof of concepts of their ideas, of their products. So we had a team of experts around them. It lasted a bit more than 7 months. Ended then in a so-called demo night where the startups could pitch in front of KPMG, but also in front of our clients and collaboration partner during our technology conference in March. There, of course, then we said, like you have it with kids, right? Now we are grown-ups, go into the world and conquer the world, and this is what all of them did. And we, as KPMG, are still in collaboration with some of them, and others made just their way further.
But in order to conquer the world, you need financing. Did you also help them with financing their business ideas?
Yes, what we said at the very beginning to each of the startups, that it might be that KPMG is going to invest in them, particularly if we might find together a so-called go-to-market approach, a collaboration where we together could go to clients. KPMG provides the services which we know. The startup might provide tools or their ideas. Unfortunately, in the last batch, there was none of the startups really fitting 100% our portfolio, and that's why also an investment for KPMG didn't make sense at that very moment, because KPMG is not an investment firm. We are a big audit, tax and advisory firm, so we define ourselves over know-how and not investments. But nevertheless, we could help some of them to find financing and to go one step further.
So tell us a little the criteria to select these startups.
So the last time we simply said we put together certain focus areas, for focus industries, which we wanted to cover. And one main thing was, of course, that we were only looking for B2B startups. Because business to business is where we are in, and where we believe we know also how the market works. Then we selected them around that idea. We said fintech is interesting, everything which might be around the HR market. We also said energy could be something interesting. So we were quite a bit loose at that time, which we are going to change because we will have a second edition soon, where we want to be a bit more agile. Also with onboarding, we will not make a big search anymore from the very beginning, but we will on the go onboard startups which our scouting systems will bring. And we are going to focus a bit more on the collaborative factor, meaning we bring really the expertise into a client projects, and maybe we have a startup which brings a tool out of fintech, and we go together to banks or to insurers to help them solving a particular problem which they have. Mm-hmm. So this time we will be more agile, and we will also not be restrictive with regards to the program. We won't say it lasts half a year. It might lead only to a program of 3 months for certain startups, for others maybe 9 months, depending on the evolution stage they are.
Mm-hmm. But can you give us some examples from the last round? So
in the last round, for instance, we had at the very beginning 6 startups. Where we were also learning, of course, where in the first part of the program we decided together with one startup that it doesn't make sense anymore for them to be in our accelerator, but with the other 5 we continued. One was a learning platform. It's Nifty Learning. They tried to reinvent the problem or the solutions for the problems of the bigger firms in the learning environment. They're very successful. They went further to an accelerator in Berlin, to Techstars, and now also going into the first financing round. Plus we as KPMG, we also use their system, which is of course I think a good achievement for a startup. Mm-hmm. Another startup, which is Jobful.ro, is in the gamification of job search, something totally new, totally different than job search is currently done. They are also in a further accelerator. They were accepted in the SAP accelerator, also in Germany. They just had their first angel investment round of 100,000 euro, which I also believe this is a success, and KPMG could help in them to develop further. They have clients, both of them, Nifty as well as Jobful. They have clients, they have revenues, which is something which is key in the startup environment, that you have as soon as possible also revenues, because until you have you do not have revenues, you might have the issue of proving that your concept really works. Mm-hmm. Then there was another startup in fintech. iFactor is the name, which is active in the factoring industry. They want to revolutionize how the way of factoring is done. And there was one in the energy field, Box2M, Box2M is all about energy saving, solving the problem of big plants, big factories, to really steer their energy consumption and to know exactly when it is wise to use energy and where from. And they have a very nice technological solution, which is software as well as hardware. They're also going one step further, searching for financing soon as well. And we had on the go, we found a nice idea of a community app, See You There app, which we thought, this is something which we actually could use.
The new Facebook, maybe.
Maybe, yes. This is a community app which we actually use in KPMG ourselves as well to make community, create community amongst our employees.
Wow.
And it was quite an interesting way where we said, let's onboard them also, although the accelerator already started.
What kind of topics do they have in that community app?
In the community app, it's about...
it's about job or...?
No, it's about playing chess and going hiking. No, I'm joking. It's of course about going out in the evening with each other. Then some are interested in art, maybe others in various particular concerts. Currently we have launched for the big festivals in Romania, like Untold or Never Cease, communities that people from our firm could go together. Although they might not work in the same department together, but they find themselves through the app and they organize themselves maybe on how to go there, and it's quite a nice.
It's somewhere in the middle between Facebook and LinkedIn, maybe.
Maybe this is, for us it was simply important to bring, since we have a reasonable size of the firm and all the 900 people do not know each other anymore, so they are on different floors, but they are for sure same interests, and by this we can for sure help them to pool their interests and to do things together, yes.
Great, that's very nice. Where do you see all these businesses in, I don't know, 1 year, 3 years from now? Do they have the potential to reach valuations of $1 billion?
I think this is a big confusion. For me, startups must not necessarily become unicorns. For me, startups can also be very successful firms if they stop with 20, 30 employees, but they're a stable firm. They have products, they have clients. I think this is for the whole economy of Romania as important as the unicorns, because one thing is also clear, that a unicorn like UiPath will not generate as much value in Romania as the value would imply, because unicorns go into the world, and the world outside of Romania is of course bigger than Romania itself. So I believe that startups, even if they do not have the potential to become unicorns, are to me something important to be supported, because they are simply the future firms of our economy, which is an important part of the development of Romania, of course.
And what do you think are the measures needed in order to this startup ecosystem to reach its potential in Romania?
I think we are quite far already, because we have accelerators in Romania. We have a working ecosystem of co-working spaces. We have tech communities in a lot of cities. We have even an accelerator like Spheric, who is very well known on a regional level. They play a role even on a European level. We have now also financing, so there are several venture capital funds active in Romania on various levels, from seed over post-seed, maybe Series A, B, and so there is an ecosystem which is there. I think it's just about also the good ideas, the ideas which can be leveraged, which are not just an idea which might feed then 1-2 employees, but 20, 30, 100, 1,000 employees, which think a bit outside of Romania as well, for services or for solutions which can change the world outside of Romania as well. And I think there we are not yet 100% there, because this is also a mindset change which has to happen. But I think we are on a very good way, and we have the means in Romania. so far to be successful. One role maybe which could be played better is the involvement of the state, of the government, which may be a bit more active in the environment of startups with a more particular focus and not just the focus like Startup Nation had. But I think it was a good start, which can be, of course, improved.
Do you think we need more programs like that, like Startup Nation?
Yes, I think indeed we need more, which, however, should have a focus. I think it should have a focus on real business plans, on innovation more than multiplication of already existing businesses, because otherwise we are cannibalizing the existing business, which is not good for the whole market environment. I think it should be a bigger focus on innovation. And as we all know, innovation comes very often from universities. And I think the state could support the startup ecosystem in more complex sectors, like biotechnology maybe, or medicine in general, or even technology, by funding maybe institutes of universities, which will then create spin-offs, which will create real inventions, because this would for sure make the difference to other countries in the region.
How do you think we stand comparing to other countries in the region, talking about innovation and the startup ecosystem in technology?
I think Romanians in general are very inventive people. It's in the culture. However, this should not be confused with innovation. And I think innovation is also something which has to be planned with the means, like with institutes funding at universities, or the mindset, maybe with some special workplaces where people can use tools to work on their innovations, and this is of course lacking still. But compared to other countries in the region, I believe Romania is there. Romania plays a role. Romania should not be confused, especially with technology, that it is the superstar of the region. I believe Romania is extremely well placed, but very often it's confused, especially by foreigners, that we in Romania are very much technology driven. And it's confused with all the software development centers we have here. But just software development doesn't mean innovation or startups. However, the mere fact that we have a lot of software development centers might lead to the fact that a lot of startups or spin-offs with ideas will be created. I think we are on a very good trail there.
Great. And where does the role of the classic companies, the traditional companies, comes when we talk about the development of the innovation environment? In the Western countries, you have big companies with tens of years of tradition, which sustain innovation and collaborate with startups. Do you see this happening here?
More and more so-called corporate innovation is really started. We ourselves do the same. We know it from other multinational firms. Some say it's a trend. If some say it's a trend, it's usually not sustainable. I hope it will not be a trend, because I strongly believe that bigger firms, but also medium-sized firms, they should actually work with startups, because startups have a much more agile solution process. They are much more flexible in how they approach problems, and also the various challenges they have from the market or for the product. And established firms do good if they embrace this kind of startups, and if they are actually start collaborating maybe even with them, because by this they can take some of the agility inside of their organization and show the employees which are used to work very standardized within their jobs, that a bit more flexibility might have them moving much more faster.
And where do you see the most investment are needed for an established company for the next, I don't know, 1 or 3 years?
In technology, you mean? I mean, I believe that technology investments are an absolute no-brainer to be done. Who is not considering it at this very moment, for sure will have serious issues in 2-3 years already. And it's not a matter of 5 years or 10 years, because Romania is no longer just a cheap labor country. The jobs which are generating values are better and better paid, which is a very good thing. And therefore, we are going in Romania also in a different class of competitiveness. We are no longer just a labor arbitrage country, but we really have to prove the existence and the relevance also of our products which we make here. And therefore, we also need to embrace technology. I mean, the easiest starts are, of course, automation, for instance, because who is not starting to think about automation? RPA, you mentioned UiPath, but also simple applications might simply lose market momentum, because you might be stuck at one very moment where all your competitors did it. But you cannot move anymore, so you may not have made the technology investment, and maybe we have then even more scarce labor market than we have it now, and you cannot act anymore and you cannot grow anymore as a firm. So that's why I think established firms have to make thorough decisions as of now, and should do it already for a couple of years. What makes sense with respect to technology to be used? Because even if somebody says, we are in a very old-fashioned industry, let's say we are just a bakery, we don't need technology at all. Yes, but it could be that your suppliers or your clients use technology, and if you cannot arrange the interfaces with your clients or suppliers anymore, your clients and suppliers will not consider you anymore in future. So that's why I think it's unavoidable to use technology, to embrace technology nowadays, even for countries like Romania. But I must say that in Romania we are not lagging behind. I think we are even in the upper third of embracing technology and new things within Europe. I think Western countries in Europe are on average much more lagging behind, because they are less agile than Romanians.
That's good news for us. But how do you translate this agility?
I mean, the agility, from my point of view, is coming from the fact that the culture in Romania is to really learn a lot. We want to learn here, we want to use new things, we want to travel a lot, we want to see a lot, we want to embrace new cultures, we want to learn about them, we want to learn new things. And I think this is really what is differentiating Romania to other countries. I can compare maybe even Germany with it, where people are less agile because the way of living is more settled there. Their comfort zone is much bigger, and I think Romania will be one of the countries who will shake the bigger countries soon. Yes.
Great news for us. But is there a certain amount of money a company have to invest in the technology? Is there a certain percent from the turnover which you should invest in the technology field to keep up?
I think this is very industry specific, and general percentage cannot be given. I know in certain technology firms they say if we do not invest 12 to 15% into R&D and technology every year, we will have a serious problem in future. But generally, what I can say is that investments are needed, but some might say we don't have the money yet to make bigger investments. And there also the approach nowadays of software as a service, for instance, or you lease certain platforms, or you pay as you go, are options to embrace technology, even if you do not have a big budget for technology. Or some firms can also go to specialized firms for certain areas, and of course take the full service from them, because they know they invest in the respective technology continuously, and they can do it and leverage it over several clients.
I understand. But are there any fields of activity which are more exposed to the risks of disruptions than others?
I mean, especially disrupted can be everybody who is standing still. If you translate disruption into the use of technology, maybe instead of human labor, of course the services field is very much a danger. We are talking here everything which is repetitive, which is not really adding a lot of value, which can be nowadays already taken over by technology such as automation, RPA, particular applications, and any industry who maybe had big profits in the past is still living from it, and because of this is lacking transformation. I think these are the industries which might be at risk soon.
The financial industry with the fintechs gives us a lot of titles in our publications. Is there a competition between fintechs, or more of a collaboration between the fintechs and the classical structures from the financial industry?
I think at the very beginning there was a competition, of course, but by now the financial services industry clearly understood that they have to embrace these technologies, these new technologies, and they have to go towards them, because otherwise they will become irrelevant, and maybe not irrelevant because of their services or of their quality, maybe irrelevant because the clients make a different choice. The clients might not want a classical bank account, might want just an online bank account because it's easier. If we take the example of Apple Pay, which was now introduced in Romania as well, it makes the transaction of money, the paying, so much easier, and nobody 3 years ago would have thought that he can pay just with his mobile phone. So it can go extremely fast. But I think the financial services industry woke up late, but is now catching up in order to embrace the new normal. Yeah.
Great. Let's speak a little about your field of activity.
Gladly.
You are head of tax and legal at KPMG. What role does technology plays in your field of activity?
We were lucky that we very early recognized that technology will be a game changer also for us. It's for us simply normal that we use technology. Within our field and in our daily work, we use robots who help us doing repetitive tasks. We are communicating with our clients through various electronic and technological means. We create our own applications, which we are going to sell and selling to our clients, which is of course part of our know-how, but supported by technology. We have our employees going through technology trainings. We have even tax advisors who are certified in programming RPAs, and so on and so forth. I mean, we are not just the classical consultant anymore. We embrace technology and we use technology in favor of having better results for the clients.
Great, but what would you advise the companies, especially the classical ones, to react to the overwhelming challenge on how to embrace the technology in order to be prepared, as you are, for the future?
I mean, openness, as I said, is the most important thing. Start trying out technology, make maybe so-called proof of concepts. And if you believe you are not ready for the technology, or your organization is not ready, we have several such clients where we try to help them, where we may run certain services for them using our technology, and by this the client doesn't have to invest into technology, and I think by this the client is hedging somehow his investments, because he knows that in the hands of a firm like KPMG, technology is wisely used, is always up to date, state of the art, and therefore the time efforts are optimized also for them.
A key word for the future of the companies in Romania?
The key word, I think we used it very often, is of course agility. But I would call it also openness. So-called growth mindset is the most important thing what you have to have nowadays.
Thank you very much for this message and for this interesting discussion, Mr. Schöb. Vă mulțumim și dumneavoastră pentru atenție și vă așteptăm în curând la o nouă ediție a emisiunii ZF Esențial în Business.